For a Wednesday night, it's a pretty good crowd, April said. Harley looked around the bar. April was right. He knew almost all the patrons. There were the regulars like old Bill Johnson who would sneak into the toilet for a smoke when it was too cold to go outside. Then there was Cheryl Henderson. She had been a schoolteacher for 35 years and her husband had died 9 months ago. Then there was Jake Carragan. Harley didn't know much about him, but he knew he wasn't more than 25. Jake was an actor. For months Harley wouldn't see him, then he would turn up and live in the bar until his next job came along. Harley joked that the man worked and then spent every penny he earned in his bar. Harley knew them all. But tonight there were others in there that Harley hadn't seen. 3 men sat around a table, most probably driven in by the cold weather and snow. At the end of the bar, 2 women sat with cocktails, and by the window, Harley saw an old man sitting by himself. This he thought was strange. The window seats were cold. The bar was over 150 years old, and as such the sills leaked air like a holy balloon. Harley looked at April. "Pretty good crowd indeed," he said. "Hey, you see that old man by the window? You want to see if he wants to sit someplace warmer. Those seats are cold as hell." April smiled. Hell is supposed to be hot. Harley smiled back. April had the most beautiful smile of any woman he had known. He watched as she went over to the man. A moment later she returned. She shot Harley an odd look. "That man is strange." She turned to look at the old man. It was as if he didn't understand me, like he didn't speak English or something. And another thing, his hands are covered in blood. Dried blood that's turned black. Harley looked at the man now as well. Probably homeless. And that's not the weirdest thing. Patches of his skin on his face are black like tar. Harley was observing the man closely. He sat motionless with a drink in front of him. "Homeless," Harley repeated. "Come in off the street because of the weather." "Should we throw him out?" April asked. Harley looked at his drink. Not a drop had been touched. "He's paid for his drink. He's not causing any trouble. He has every right to sit there like anyone else." "It's snowing outside," April said, hitting the window hard. The snow, thought Harley. He looked at his watch. After 9 already. "April, take off early tonight. Weather is stinking, and I don't want you to get caught in it." "So you don't want me to get snowed in with you for the night?" Harley laughed. "No complaints from me." April giggled. "No, I had better not. I have an exam tomorrow." "Are you sure you don't want me to help you clean up?" Harley looked around the bar again. The 2 women at the bar had left. "No, I think I can handle a half-dozen customers." April nodded and touched Harley's arm. Then she was off, walking out back. When she returned, it was wrapped in a thick red coat, gloves, and woolen hat. She met Harley halfway to the door. He reached into his pocket and pulled out some money. "Take a taxi. Weather is getting worse." April gave him a kiss on the cheek and headed for the door. As April disappeared, he looked at the old man again. The strangest thing, he thought, wasn't the dry black blood or dirty black stains, but the fact he hadn't touched his drink. Still, what did he care? He had made his money. It made no difference if the man drank it or not. Less than 2 hours till closing time. The next hour went by slowly. More than a few times Harley went to the window. The snow was heavy now. His regulars drifted out one at a time. Cheryl the teacher, old Bill Johnson, and even Jake the actor left well before closing. 15 minutes before 11 the 3 men left as well. Each time the door opened, a freezing wind blew through the bar like a tornado. When closing time came at 11, the old man was the only one left. Now it was just them. He looked outside. If anything, the weather was worse, cold and snowy. A stinging bite to the wind. Harley felt bad. Throwing an old man out in the snow was not the kind thing to do. But the city had homeless shelters where he could go. He walked over to the old man. April had been right. There was blood on his hands that had dried black, and patches of the skin on his face were black as well. "Sir," he said gently. "Closing time." The old man just sat there as if he didn't hear him. Another thing April was right about. "Sir," he said again, this time more forcefully, "we're closing." Again the old man was silent. So strange that he didn't even look at Harley. Harley looked out the window. Miserable was the word that came to mind. "Look, I know it's worse than hell out there, but I really got to close up. My boss will give me hell if he loses his liquor license." It was an old trick Harley had used before, pretending to be just a barman and not the owner. Sometimes the guilt worked on drunkards, other times it didn't. On a Friday and Saturday, Harley employed a couple of doormen and extra bar staff. If a patron had too much, there was always help to gently let them know it was time to leave. But midweek there were so few customers, it wasn't worth hiring the extra staff. The only reason April was there during the week was because he liked having her around, and the fact there had been a little more than boss, worker between them. Harley looked down at the man. "Look, you've got to leave, there's nothing I can do about it." The old man seemed to be in some sort of trance. He touched the old man on the shoulder. "Nothing," Harley groaned, "so it was going to be like this." Harley was not a small man. He stood 6'3.5" and weighed 220 pounds. More than once he had thrown people out of his bar and barred them forever. The old man was slight of build and not tall and looked like he weighed no more than a sack of spuds. With an arm under the old man's armpit, he lifted him up and began to move him to the door. Surprisingly, the old man put up no resistance, and Harley had no trouble getting him to the door. A whoosh of cold wind blew in on them. As Harley moved him inches closer to the open door, the old man's eyes lit up as if he had just woken up. Shock went through Harley at what he saw: black eyes, black pupils. Then the man's mouth began to bite hard, his teeth chattering madly. Harley's face flashed red for a moment. "I don't care whether you like it or not, you're leaving, old pal." With a forceful shove, he tried to push the old man out, but as he did, the man turned and went for him. He lurched at Harley, head down, and before Harley could stop him, his teeth bit into Harley's left forearm. Harley let out a loud grunt. "That's it, old man, whether or not you're going out now." And he grabbed the man by his shirt and with a forceful shove, pushed him out into the cold and bolted the door behind him. He peered through the window to see the man staggering off down the street. Another thing April was right about. Should have thrown the bum out long ago, he thought. Strange that the man staggered like he was drunk without even touching his drink. Harley looked at his arm. The man's bite had been hard. A half ring of blood seeped out of his skin where he had been bitten. Harley could even see the individual teeth. Damn, he thought, bitten by some homeless man. Only God knew what diseases the man carried. Still, he wasn't that worried. Harley had had all his shots: rabies, typhoid, tetanus. He went out back to where he kept a medical kit. After years of being a doorman, he knew how to bandage a wound, and it could have been worse, he thought. The wound was right on his upper forearm, 2 inches from his elbow. The bite marks were plain to see. He washed it under some warm water and then sprayed it with antiseptic and wrapped a bandage around it, tying it off in a knot. He went back to the bar and collected the rest of the empty glasses. When he got to the old man's table, the drink had been untouched. April had served him, but he had been in there for half the night or more. The whole incident had an odd feeling about it. Harley had never seen a homeless man buy a drink, and no homeless would ever leave a full pint on the table. And there were other strange things that didn't make sense. The man was dressed far too well for a street person. And why would a street person buy a beer when there were free shelters he could go to? And the thing that struck him as oddest was the attack itself. It was as if the man was in a trance or asleep. Only when Harley tried to push him out of the door and into the cold did he seem to come alive. The whole thing left a bad taste in his mouth. After Harley had cashed up and switched off the lights, he went upstairs to where he lived. His arm ached and throbbed at the same time. He rubbed the bandage and switched off the light. The next morning when he woke, it wasn't just his arm that ached. Now it was his whole body. Outside the bandage, his skin had turned a reddish color. If that wasn't bad enough, he sweated like he had just run a marathon, and he had a fever for sure. Harley thought about getting up. He should really open the bar. God knew he needed the money, but in his state, he could barely move. Take a day off, he said to himself. He would open the bar on Friday when he felt better.